All right, so if you joined in on the previous chapter, you may recall that we created this atomic symbol entirely as a collection of dynamic attributes here inside the appearance panel. But I also told you that I cheated to figure out the position of the electrons. And so, for example, if I were to turn on this top black fill right there, you can see the bottom left electron disappear. And so I'll go ahead and turn it back on, twirl that fill open, and click on the word transform. And note that I didn't create these electrons by rotating them. Rather, I created them by dialing in seemingly random move values right here of, in this case, negative 167 and positive 169. And I was able to figure that out using transformation guides. So let me show you what that looks like. I'll go ahead and switch over to the layers panel, and I'll turn my guides layer back on. And I'll also press Control-Shift-A or Command-Shift-A on the Mac to deselect my illustration. I'll twirl open this drawing layer right here. I'll turn off the bottom ellipse, and I'll turn on the top one, which so far has no dynamic effects assigned to it. Now I'll go ahead and click on the guides layer to make it active. Next, I'll select the ellipse tool from the Shape Tool flyout menu, which, if you went ahead and modified your keyboard shortcuts along with me back in Chapter 11 of the Fundamentals course, now has a shortcut of Shift-M. And then I'll Alt or Option click at the intersection of those two guidelines, and I'll dial in width and height values of 30 points each, after which I'll click the OK button in order to create that circle. All right, now to make sure it's looking the same as our other electrons, I'm going to change the fill right here to none, and then I'll dial in a line weight of 5 points, click on the word stroke, and align the stroke to the outside of the shape. All right, now I'll switch back to the Move tool by pressing the V key, and then I'll press the Enter key or the Return key on the Mac in order to bring up the Move dialog box. And these just happen to be the values I came up with. A horizontal value of negative 63 and a vertical value of negative 229. In real life, I of course did this naturally just by dragging the shape into place. But the idea was that I wanted the electron to be centered on this ring, which represents the orbit. And so having dialed in these values, I'll go ahead and click OK. All right, now we need to figure out exactly where the electron is going to be on the other rings, and we can do that using the Rotate tool. So go ahead and select the tool, or press the R key, and then Alt or Option click right there at the intersection of the two guides. And notice when you press and hold the Alt key, you go from having a cross-shaped cursor to the addition of 3 little dots, which show you that you're going to bring up a dialog box. And sure enough, here it is. And to figure out the angle value, I just took 360 degrees, which represents a circle, and I divided by 3 by entering /3 at the end. And then I press the Tab key in order to update the value, at which point it becomes 120 degrees. Then you want to click on the Copy button, or press Alt-Enter here on the PC, or Option-Return on the Mac. And then just go ahead and press Control-D or Command-D on the Mac to duplicate a third electron. Now, 3 electrons is all we need, so go ahead and press the V key to switch back to the black arrow tool, and then shift-click on the other 2 circles, and right-click inside the document window and choose Make Guides, which will turn all these circles into non-printing guides. And from that point on, it was just a matter of making sure things looked right. And so what I'm going to do is take all the dynamic attributes from this bottom ellipse and copy them onto the top one by pressing the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac and dragging this little sort of sculptural meatball and dropping it onto the circular target here in order to fill out the effect. And now you can see that the electrons are pretty well aligned, especially this bottom left guy. The one over on the right is just a little bit off, as you can see. And if that bothers you, then of course you can make modifications by targeting the ellipse here inside the Layers panel, then switch over to the Appearance panel, figure out which of these fills represents the electron, and it looks like it's this guy right here, as well as this white fill. And so what I'm going to do is twirl open the white fill, click on the word transform, turn on the preview checkbox so I can see what I'm doing. And I'll just go ahead and click in the horizontal move value and press the up arrow key. And notice that moves that circle way too far. So I'll go ahead and press down arrow once again. And I actually want it to go the other direction. So I'll enter 229.6, let's say, and see what happens. And that looks pretty darn good. Maybe not perfect. I'll go ahead and change it to 229.7, and that looks awesome. So I'll select that value because I'll never remember it. And then I'll press Control-C or Command-C on the Mac to copy it, and I'll click OK. And now I'll twirl this guy closed, twirl the bottom black fill open, click on its transform, and change its horizontal move value to 229.7 as well, turn on the preview checkbox to see it nudge on screen, and then click OK. All right, now just go ahead and press Control-0 or Command-0 on the Mac so that we can take in the entire illustration. And that's how you create static transformation guides in order to help you build an accurate dynamic effect here inside Illustrator.